hell yeah, bitch, I'm on it. Where you're like, oh God, that's intense. And she is not to be fucked with. Super fun times. Well, hello, welcome back to my channel. Joshana here to talk about a friggin' book. I feel as though it has been 12 years since I did an individual book review. I thought about doing one for Oleander Sword, but then like, it's a sequel, and I feel like it would make more sense to just wait until the trilogy is done and do a series review. At any rate, I am doing one today, you already know because of the title. It is The Adventures of AMINA AL-SIRAFI. I am constantly fucking up the last name because I'm getting it confused with the last name of the author of The Final Strife, which is AL-SIRAFI, and then this one is AL-SIRAFI, and I don't know, it's just like, I kept saying Sarifi instead of Sirafi. It's been a time. Every time I talk about it, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna get it wrong again. And the book is by Shannon Chakraborty, our girl who wrote the Daevabad trilogy. I saw on Twitter last week, I'm filming this on the 29th of September. Last week I saw on Twitter someone retweeted the author saying that e-arcs were available on NetGalley. I was like, hell yeah, bitch, I'm on it. And I'm simultaneously happy that I got it so early and read it so early because I thoroughly loved it. Spoiler alert. But I'm also at the same time mad because the release date is March 7th of 2023. Many, many months away. So now I gotta wait to get my hands on an actual copy of it, right? Of the published copy. And it's probably gonna be a while before anybody else starts reading it. So I'm just gonna be sitting here like, I wanna talk about this, but nobody's read it yet. So if you have a NetGalley account in good enough standing or whatever, and you're interested in this book, go request it so then you can talk to me about it. I want to preface too with saying I was very, very excited for this book once I heard that it was coming because of my experience with the Daevabad trilogy. So, all of that to say, it was a pretty solid series, but I ended up feeling kind of, maybe it's not one of my favorites. I was just so excited for the potential. So, I was very excited when I heard that she was coming out with a new trilogy. However, I do not love seafaring things, okay? And the whole premise of this new trilogy, of this first book in particular, is we're following AMINA. She's the main character. It's first-person point of view. And she used to be a smuggler, a pirate, a sailor, and she had her own ship, the Mawarati. And she was just, this lady pirate that had all these adventures and was a bit of a legend. And it has been 10 years. She had a child, and she's basically hiding out, living in seclusion. You're not sure why, but sounds like someone is perhaps after her or could still be looking for her, and she's just wanting to protect her daughter and her family. She has a younger brother who has a wife and kids. Her mother is still alive. So she's just kind of hiding out, living out in a mountain, doing her own thing, being very secluded. And then something occurs. Someone comes to her door with a proposition for her to go on a mission for reasons, and she's got to get the gang back together. So that's kind of the setup. At this point, she is 41 or 42 years old. She's like in her early 40s. She's considered quite long in the tooth in this world. It's set in like 12th century, our actual world, but over in the Indian Ocean. And I will say that it is set in the same world as the Daevabad trilogy. Like, it's clearly the same kind of world, it's just in a different century. This is in the 12th century, and the Daevabad trilogy takes place in like the 18th century, if memory serves me. But we do have very mythological things happening. Magic exists in this world, in this book, jinn, and there's rumors of tons of other things, and yeah, so that's all I will say about that. Everything I'm going to say, by the way, is going to be non-spoilery in this particular review, because I know probably at this point hardly anybody has read this book. I should probably wait to post this review until way closer to the book's release, but I literally just can't wait. I need to tell people about it, and I want more people to like get ARCs if possible and pick it up. Not that Shannon Chakraborty needs me to promote anything. She's pretty well known, but yeah, I'm very excited. So I'm gonna post this review now, and then once it's closer to it, I'll probably post a shorter, more spoilery, just little quick chat referencing this video and like linking back to this one. So that's the plan. I literally cannot wait to talk about it. I gotta get it out. Some representation that we have in this story, we definitely have Muslim representation. The main character is Muslim, and she is in a part of the world where a lot of people are Muslim. There are Christians and Jews as well described, and even within the friend group, we have differing religions. We have gay representation, not in the main character, but again, the close friend group, we have a gay man. Obviously, we have like a parent, and it feels weird saying that's like representation, but in fantasy, I feel as though it's less common to have a main character and have like their parenthood be a big part of their life or their identity, and it very much is for AMINA. So much of what she does, all of what she does, is driven by her status as a parent and having a child. And what does this mean for my child and my family? And just that is always in her mind. So I do feel like that is something that other people who are parents could really relate to or enjoy seeing in a fantasy story. And kind of, I guess I don't know if this would count necessarily. I have, I guess, technically chronic pain because I get migraines just all the time. And I have a prescription for it, and I'm going to see a neurologist to see if something else is going on because it's out of control. But, and I guess I don't know if this counts. She does have chronic pain, but it's kind of like age. She's middle-aged, and she, was going on all these adventures when she was young and fighting and doing this and that and the other thing. And she has a bad knee, and it is like a constant thing throughout. Like if she is fighting, if she is in battle, if she's doing anything, just being on the ship, walking around a lot, if she's on her feet a lot, traipsing through the countryside to go on their mission or whatever the hell, she references and talks about her knee quite a bit. So again, if you are someone who suffers from chronic pain for whatever various reasons it may be, representation that could be nice to see. We also get some trans representation in this, very much a side character, and it's really only like one conversation, a couple conversations they have. It's a character that I think will be more prominent as the series goes on, but in this book they were very much a side character. They were not in like the friend circle. But yeah, they discuss having gender dysphoria, and there is a bit, I guess, content warning for a brief, very brief, just mention of reference to this person's family members kind of just dismissing it. So a little bit of like transphobia of them just kind of being like, no, this isn't how you are. Don't focus on that. They just are very dismissive of it and don't want to hear it, right? So little touch of transphobia there. It's obviously framed as not a good thing that they are like that, and the character that this trans character is talking to is affirming that, like, no, how you feel is okay, how you feel is good, and God made you this way, and you should be allowed to be who you are, right? So it's handled very well, I feel, but I'm not a trans person, so I cannot say with certainty if it would be triggering at all for anyone, but like I said, it's a very brief mention of like the little bit of transphobia. Other content warnings, murder and violence. There are like 2 or 3 scenes with like very, very violent things happening to people, and one particularly gruesome death. We don't see the death happening. We don't see the murder happen. We see the aftermath of someone coming across these bodies that are kind of mutilated and not treated with respect at all. So there's that a little bit. It's not like egregious, I guess, especially if you're a fantasy reader, an avid fantasy reader, but yeah, there's a little bit of like gore, I guess I would say, where you're like, oh God, that's intense. Some religious bigotry happening. In this story, the villain is a Frank, which is the title, I guess, used for Latin Western Christians. Yes, Western Latin Christians. I might have the order of the words incorrect, but yeah, basically just religious zealot who is technically Christian, but like coming over to these lands, like colonization, also just like religious wars, crusades type of thing, but like violent religious crusades. So there is that as well. We do have the threat of sexual assault, but it does not actually happen, but it is verbalized of like, oh, I'm going to have this happen to you, or I'm going to let this happen to you, or I'm going to do this to you. But then it doesn't happen. It's one time, and that's that. So getting into my categories that I will touch on here. First thing is the characters. I like thoroughly enjoyed all of these characters. We have a really cool middle-aged found family group that haven't seen each other in like 10 years and haven't really been in touch with each other. And like I said, the gang's getting back together, and they are just such a fun group. Their dynamic together is so great. Loved it. And I found myself surprisingly being gripped by this story and by Amina herself as a main character, like immediately. 10% in, I put a note of, I'm gripped by this story already. I'm just having such a good time right off the bat, immediately. And it wasn't like skipping a beat. I just, everything I read, I was just having so much fun because Amina is such a great character, I feel. Also, there is a little orange cat in this story whom I love, Payasam, which reminds me, I have my little socks, my little orange kitty from Buzz Lightyear. My boyfriend and I watched it, and we both loved socks, so he got us matching Funkos of socks. And I have an orange cat, Lily. So yeah, I loved the cat also. It's like the worst cat ever. It's like so terrible at being a cat. And it's like the ship's mouser, but like it can barely even feed itself. Its owner has to like hand feed it. I love it. And they're just such interesting characters. So Amina is like the lady pirate, you know, ship captain, all that. And then she has Delilah, who is a mistress of poisons, and she wears this like hat that has all these ribbons with vials of different poison coming down. And she is not to be fucked with, let me tell ya. She's great. And always down for some shenanigans. She is the first one to be like, yeah, sign me up, I'm down, let's go. Let's do the thing. What are we doing? Great. Love her. Tinbu, he was great also. He's the owner of Payasam, the cat. And he was kind of running the ship while in the 10 years they weren't doing so much smuggling and piracy. They were trying to be legit, just like a merchant ship kind of thing. But he was the captain of the Mawarati in the 10 years that Amina was away. And then Majed, who is the cartographer. He is like the master of maps. And so Amina comes from a family of smugglers, captains, pirates, etc. Her grandfather was renowned, her father also. And Majed was, I don't believe he was with her grandfather, but was with her father. He worked with her father. And there's some other side characters as well. And of course there's a villain and his whole thing. But yeah, I just, that group thoroughly adored. There's also, Amina has several ex-husbands, like 5 ex-husbands, because she is Muslim and was not always very devout as far as keeping up with her prayers. And, you know, she was committing some sins, thievery, and occasionally, if her life was threatened, she would, you know, choose violence and had killed people before, but never, you know, murderous intent, like in that kind of way, but it did happen. So she admittedly says that she wasn't always a very good Muslim, but she is more devout now. But even back then, when she wasn't super devout, one she did follow was not having sex outside of marriage. So when she would find a guy that she thought was hot and attractive and a fun time and she wanted to sleep with, she would marry him. So she's had several husbands, one of whom is very mysterious, and perhaps part of the reason she does not like magic. And that's all I will say about that. He is quite a character, though. We do get to meet him, and he's a character. I'll just say that. And then onto the world building. So again, we are in our real world. Like, the places she's talking about are real places in our world, same as in the Daevabad trilogy. And we have the same kinds of creatures, mythological creatures, jinn, and I mean, just all kinds of stuff. So it is our world, but it's over in a place in our world, a part of our world that I've never been, over in the Indian Ocean, off the eastern coast of Africa, and like Yemen, and up to India, like just that whole region is like where we're hanging out. And, I've never been there. I've seen pictures, I guess, but I just thought that it was very vivid. I could see everything. And even like just the actions of the characters. I don't know. It's like, it's hard to describe, but I just feel like Chakraborty does such a good job with it, where she's not overly descriptive by any means. She does not wax poetic about the scenery, but she does describe it. I keep saying when I'm like talking to my friends, I'm like, it's just like such efficient description, I guess. Like, she's not overly descriptive, she's just efficiently descriptive. And for some reason, the way she writes stuff, and that's how I felt in Daevabad too, like I said, the world, I was just like, I can like see all of this. For me personally, she just writes it so well. I feel like I'm there. I feel like I can see these colors and these plants and everything, and these wild mythological creatures she's describing. I'm like, I know what they look like. My biggest concern going into this book, I was very much anticipating it because of the things I liked about the Daevabad trilogy, and just like, okay, maybe another series by her will be more truly my cup of tea, and not just like, ooh, this has potential to be my cup of tea. So I was excited, but the Seafaring, I don't love seafaring, sailing, piracy, descriptions of being at sea. I don't love it, because the times that I come across it, more often than not, it feels like, Jesus Christ, do we have a storm every other day? And do I need this intense description of every single thing that we're doing to try to make it through the storm, and over on the starboard and man the sails and do the thing, and where everyone is on the ship and what the ship is rocking this way and the ocean is, I don't care. At a certain point with stuff like that, my brain just like fogs over, my eyes glaze over, and I get lost in the sauce, basically. So I was a little nervous, like, oh fuck, it's like a pirate, like oh my god. But I will say, number one, we didn't even get to being on a ship until like 40% into the book, I want to say, 30 or 40% in. And then when we were on the ship, there was some description of being at sea, and there was like one like kind of battle at sea that happened with a monster, a sea beast. But it was so brief and not the focal point. I think that's what it is. I hate when like what the fuck is going on with the ship becomes the focal point of like the scene or the chapter or the story, and I'm just like, I don't care. And the focal point was very much the characters and the mission they were on, like the plot. And I just was very, very happy. At no point did I feel annoyed by, or like my eyes were glazing over, any of the seafaring aspects. So thank God. Then for plot and pacing, the pacing I think was, I would say it was probably a pretty quick pacing, medium to fast pacing. Definitely not slow pacing, but even though I would say it leans toward fast, like I don't want that to sound like I think it was at a breakneck speed and like too fast. It just was, like I said, it didn't miss a beat. We didn't skip a beat. We were just, things were happening and we're progressing and here we go. And nothing felt like it was lulling ever. I never felt like, okay, anyways, can we move on? Every scene, every conversation, every bit of action felt purposeful and needful. You know, sometimes even a book you really like, there might be a scene or two, or maybe a super subplot that you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, anyways. Like, maybe I don't feel like that was necessary, or this part of the book is, my eyes kind of want to glaze over. I'm just like, okay, anyway. None of that for me. For me personally. Probably going to be different for other people, but for me, I was gripped by everything. Every single thing felt like it should be there. There was one part that did feel a bit convenient. There is a time, without spoiling anything, where two characters are separated and end up in the same place, and it's this a mythological like realm essentially, and it's not really. I went back to like the start of that to see, do we have an explanation for how they both got here at the same time? And we don't really. So that felt a little bit convenient, where I was like, it's pretty convenient that they both ended up in this completely random magical place, and we don't know how they got there or where it even technically is, and like weird that they both got there at the same time. It was just a bit convenient. That was my only like qualm, I guess, with the plot. And writing style, I kind of already touched on that. Yeah, just very engaging for me and very efficiently descriptive. So enjoyment level, yeah, high. I very much enjoyed it. Like, I can't shut up about it. It was just so fun. It's not necessarily it's not like a very emotional, deeply, profoundly emotional and like stuff like that kind of book. It was just a fun fucking time. So much fun. So there we have it. A non-spoilery chat about this book that's not coming out until March. But like I said, if you have NetGalley, go request an e-arc if you are interested. And then come back to this video and tell me your thoughts. I don't know if they're doing physical arcs. I don't even know how to try for physical arcs still. I've been on BookTube 5 years. I've sent like 2 emails requesting them and like never got even any answers back. So from like publishing companies, I don't even know how to get them. But if you do, or you have a relationship with the publisher, which I think it's Harper Voyager, you know, you can request a physical one, maybe. I don't know if they're going out yet. It is still very early. I think I was the first person to leave a review for this on Storygraph. Oh, God. I jumped at it, man. I probably should have waited, but it's whatever. Let me know in the comments down below if you are planning to read this. And obviously, if you do get a chance to read it, come back and let me know what you thought. If you're watching this once the book is published, for sure let me know what you think. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.